Hi and welcome. This week I'm going to be doing a quick review of the Unimig Viper 120 Mig Welder. Now this particular welder is targeted towards people with little or no MIG welding experience, and that certainly describes me. Now I have done a fair bit of arc welding over the years, but I wouldn't call myself an expert with an arc welder either. So I thought going for a product like this as my first MIG welder would probably be a good decision. So let's get it out of the box, set it up and see if it lives up to its advertising. Well, now that we've got the welder out of the box, we just need to set it up. Now the welding torch itself is permanently attached. This is both an advantage and a disadvantage. An advantage in that you don't need to attach it. A disadvantage if you do need to replace it or repair it. It does make it a little bit more difficult being permanently attached. The next thing we need to do is fit the earth lead. Now the earth lead actually goes to the positive, so we've got negative at the bottom. The actual welder goes to the negative position. These have sort of a cam lock sort of fitting on them, and then the earth lead goes to the positive connection at the top here. Just make sure they're nipped up nice and tight. Next thing we should do is make sure we've got the right roller in here. We'll just release the tension on the feed mechanism here. Rotate this cover around 90 degrees. And then you can check the roller. Now it will have written on it the wire size. This says 0.8, so that's the correct roller for the wire that I'm using. So just refit that. And now we can fit the spool of wire. Just undo the cap. And now we fit the wire. Just put the tensioner cap on top with its spring, this little retainer. Feed the wire in here. Now it can be a bit tricky. I'm going to have a lot of trouble getting it through there because I'm trying to do it from an awkward angle. Oh, went straight in. So feed the wire in some distance, say. Okay, now close the roller. Now we need to put a certain amount of tension on here, not so much that it actually crushes the wire, because this wire being flux cord, you could actually crush it if you have too much tension on it. But if you can't pull the wire back, it's got about the right amount of tension on it. Well, now we just take our torch. We need to remove the tip on the torch here. So you pull back on this little collar here, tip will come off. Now we need to undo the tip here. So now we're using the supplied spanner to undo the tip. Now we can turn the welder on, turn up the wall, turn it on here just so that we can feed the wire through. Okay, now turn the welder off again. Now you've got to make sure you've got the right tip. It will actually be marked on the tip. So this is for the 0.8 wire, so we thread that over, screw that in, tighten it up. Now we can refit the cap. And trim this down to around 10 to 15 mils. And you're now ready to weld. Okay, I've set up a bit of a test piece out here outside the garage. I've got a couple of pieces of 3mm angle iron that I've clamped together, which I will do some trial welding on. And now we just need to set up the welder itself, so I'll turn it on. It takes a couple of seconds to fire up. And there's only two controls on the welder. There's a wire diameter setting via this push button at the top, where all you have to do is push the button to set the diameter of the wire. We want 0.8mm diameter wire, and then all you have to do is set the power that you want for the particular weld. For fairly thin material like this, I'll set it around 3, and that will vary the current and the wire speed. So as you turn that up, you'll get greater current and faster wire speed. But the welder takes care of all those adjustments for you, which is ideal, I hope, for a amateur welder such as myself. So let's do a trial weld with this setup and see what it looks like. Well, I've cleaned up the weld and it actually doesn't look too bad for a first attempt. The weld is probably a little bit on the high side. I probably should have run the gun just a little bit faster, but you know, they're the sort of things that you really need to pick up with a bit of practice. Certainly setting it up was quite straightforward. It doesn't have the, I guess, the flexibility of a more professional unit where you've got control over individual parameters, but if you're just a backyard user and an occasional user like myself, perhaps something like the Unimig Viper 120 is a welder that you should consider. It's certainly really easy to set up. There's nothing really to remember. You just set the wire size and set the power knob and away you go. And if you have problems, you either turn the power up or down. Nothing could be simpler. Sure, it doesn't have the flexibility, as I said, of those more sophisticated professional welders, but a lot of us don't really need that sort of level of flexibility. Well, I think that's about it for this particular review, and I'll catch you next time.